This is the Witcher podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're back in the world of The Witcher with The Witcher Blood Origin, episode 1 of Ballads, Brawlers and Bloody Blades.
The elves need a story lost to time, one of the few who overcame the many. The story of the seven.
The story. Let me guess. A bunch of warriors join forces to fight against all odds. It has been done to death.
Has it? 7 estranged warriors who come together to fight an unstoppable empire. Bring humans and monsters to the world via the conjunction of the spheres and create the very first version of a Witcher. That's been done to death.
No, I've not heard that one, admittedly. Wow, that's very different. This is really fun. You're telling me that the first version of a Witcher was a badass elf? This is really gonna piss Geralt off. Alright. Why don't we start?
Welcome back, fellow Witchers. This is TV Podcast Industries. We're watching The Witcher Blood Origins, episode 1 and 2. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow Witchers. Happy holidays. I am one of your other hosts, John.
And rounding out the trio of oppressed elves, I am Chris.
Welcome back, everybody. And yes, happy holidays, and more specifically, happy Christmas, because the episodes of Blood Origins are coming out today on Christmas Day. But we haven't left our Christmas dinner table to come and record this.
No.
No, we haven't. Thankfully, lovely Netflix did supply us with these couple of episodes ahead of the release, so we're able to talk about them and have it ready to go for once you've watched the episodes.
Exactly. You're going to be carving turkey and listening to our dulcet tones while you watch people carve each other up at the same time.
Well, exactly.
I like it.
And be mindful to keep and pay attention to your carving of your turkey in case you carve something else off.
Yes, keep your hands clear.
Fingers.
Of
Fingers.
Yes.
This is a PG podcast. He is talking about his fingers.
Yes, fingers, indeed.
Absolutely.
Little pinkies.
Back in the continent, back in the world of The Witcher for, I guess it's the 3rd year in a row now. We had season 2 of The Witcher, which closed out 2021. We recorded our episodes of that right at the start of the year, and we're bookending the year with another story of the Witchers, this time 1200 years before the time of Geralt.
Yes, still foul-mouthed, still bloody.
Absolutely.
Just missing those groans and grunts from Geralt.
Yeah. Yes, and if you missed that, or if you missed any of the other shows that we've covered over the course of the year, you can subscribe to the podcast on tvpodcastindustries.com or search for TV Podcast Industries on your podcast player of choice. Also, if you want to send any feedback into us for The Witcher, we're going to record these in 2 parts. This is just the first 2 episodes, and we're going to record the other 2 episodes later. If you want to send in feedback to us, you can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or join us over in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries and share your thoughts over there on any of the episodes of The Witcher.
Good stuff. Shall we get into our spoiler-filled discussion about The Witcher Blood Origins episodes 1 and 2?
Yeah, we're going to start out on episode 1 of Ballads, Brawlers and Bloody Blades.
I have to say, I love the alliteration.
I know.
The title names, I was like, oh my god, this is after our own heart. I was like, you just have one guy going, yeah, I'm gonna play with this.
There's going to be so much text on our podcast image. It's just not true.
I really wanted it's going to be A, B, C, and D, and it was literally, that's what I was hoping it'd be. But then they started right off with a B, and I was like, all right, you're going straight in there. That's the way.
But with that, Derek, what are some of the episode details for episode 1 of Ballads, Brawlers and Bloody Blades?
Well, these are, of course, based on the book series by Andrzej Sapkowski and the game series from CD Projekt Red. The showrunner for this show is Declan Barra with Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich. Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, of course, the showrunner for season 1 and 2 of The Witcher. She was also a producer on season 1. We have covered her before, of course, on Daredevil, The Defenders, and Umbrella Academy as well. So Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich really... we should probably take her name into the title of our podcast. It could be the Lauren Smith TV podcast, maybe.
Lauren, just come and talk to us. At this point, we've covered everything you've done nearly.
Absolutely.
So come on.
Absolutely.
Come on, give us the insights.
Declan Barra is an Irish writer, and he has been a writer on all the way throughout season 1 and season 2 of The Witcher as well.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Great to have him on board.
Yes. And certainly will explain a lot of the foul language. I love it.
Well,
and all the Irish actors.
At least,
you know.
at least all the Irish isms and Irish slang and Irish cursing that's in certainly this first episode, which was, of course, written by Declan Barra himself. The episode was directed by Sarah O'Gorman and Vicky Jewson.
Excellent stuff.
There's a lot of Irish names in this.
Certainly is. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for The Witcher Blood Origin Episode 1?
Sure. Saved from the Tamarind Army by a shape-shifting, time-travelling entity, Jaskier is told of a tale of hope. 1,200 years before the time of monsters, men, and Geralt the Witcher, when 7 strangers join together to fight an unstoppable empire. In the Elven Golden Era, war between the Elven kingdoms Xin'trea, Pyrissia and Darwen has taken its toll. As the royal houses fight, so their clans protect them from assassination. But this too has taken a toll on Fjall Stonebreaker of Declan, who has been banished from Xin'trea, and Éile, the Lark of Raven Clan, who has self-exiled from Pyrissia to pursue a different way of life. However, the king of Xin'trea seeks peace with the other kingdoms, but is unaware that other forces are directed against his plan from the army and mages led by his chief sage, Balor. Using the mage Sindril's discoveries about the monoliths, Balor has tapped into other forces on other planes of existence for his own ends. Meanwhile, in the far-flung region of Innisdove, Fjall and Éile find themselves imprisoned together, with no love lost between them. Fjall is released as he is recalled to Declan in anticipation of the forthcoming peace treaty amongst the elves. Éile escapes her prison but is soon met by her sister, who had sought her out to bring her back to the clan for the peace treaty. As they head back to Pyrissia, Éile's sister Niamh is killed in an ambush by members of the 3 elven armies. As she fights for her own life, she is aided by Fjall. Though they hail from warring clans, Éile and Fjall must learn to trust one another and set out to add a third to their nascent group, Skian, the last of the Ghost Tribe and former swordmaster for the Raven clan. The great and good arrive in Xin'trea to commit to peace, but the ceremony is flung into chaos with the arrival of a flying monster from beyond this world. The king of Xin'trea, along with the other elven royalty, are betrayed by his own sister, the Princess Merwin, and Balor, with support from the associated armies and mages of the kingdoms who still want war. Merwin is installed as a puppet empress at the head of the new Golden Empire, as Balor continues to scheme and, using the monolith, seeks personal power in the form of chaos magic from the power that resides on the other side. As word carries around the continent of the new empire, Éile and Fjall find that their heads now have a price. Keeping a low profile, they find Skian, who agrees to join them as the band of 2 becomes 3. Well, I have to say, fellow Witchers, yes, some of the names here, I can cope with Darwin and Merwin, but yes, there are some that I am struggling with. So I apologise in advance for any changes in the pronunciation certainly as I go through this podcast.
Yeah, it is a bit like they went through the Lord of the Rings and just went, do you know what? let's just go like 4 degrees a bit harder than the Lord of the Rings pronunciations, just to really mess with a few people and separate ourselves.
Well, that's it. It's like Balor. I just keep wanting to say Balor, which is one of the dwarven kings, I think, in Lord of the Rings.
And
so
the Sept of Baelor from House of the Dragon.
and there's it's that. Yeah, it's the Sept of Balor.
That's what it is.
As
Yes,
well.
yes. So this is a year really of fantasy as well, isn't it?
It really is.
You know, we mentioned we started out this year with The Witcher, but we also covered Lord of the Rings of Power. House of the Dragon was on this year. We've been watching the excellent Willow as well on Disney Plus. So lots and lots and lots of fantasy this year, and with fantasy comes unpronounceable names, brand new ideas of magic, you know, brand new ideas of how people travel across a world, like the monoliths in here. We also had Wheel of Time last year, of course, as well. So, so much fantasy this year and so much to learn in these new worlds. And it is always difficult when you sit down to a new show and you're trying to work out who each character is. I did like in this episode of The Witcher, of Blood Origins, when we have the opening with Jaskier and the setup of the story, that we literally get every name of every major character, what clan they belong to, and where we're going to see them in the story, just as the setup, so that we can kind of write it all down and go, okay, right, we kind of know who each of these people are going to be. I thought that was a great setup.
Yeah, it was.
And nice to see Jaskier back.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the whole opening of it with Jaskier. Also seeing the entity that is Minnie Driver as well. That was really cool. You know,
do you think that's how she says it on her CV when she's applying for jobs? The entity Minnie Driver.
Maybe.
That would actually be not bad. It's like it's the artist formerly known as, and then it's the entity.
Yeah, absolutely. She's been quite transformative in past roles. So here she gets to play like 3 different characters, including Jaskier himself.
I really have a soft spot for Minnie Driver,
Awesome,
so I'm really pleased to see her sort of finally shape-shifting into a recognizable Minnie Driver, but as an elf, to deliver that kind of the little temptation of the loot on the altar, as well as the notion that Jaskier needs to provide these stories through song to bring hope at this time. You know, as he's 1200 years in the future, but I love just how it's set up, that whole thing. I thought it was quite nice. Yeah,
there's no real greater compliment for a bard like Jaskier than saying, if you write this story down, this could become the most popular story in the world, in the continent, and inspire loads of elves to come back from the brink where they are at the moment in this time. So I thought that was really interesting to open up that way, and also open with an awesome battle sequence, right? As Jaskier once again dodges around for his life.
Yeah, I love this more from personally. It's the Minnie Driver as the narrator going forward, kind of she always has that kind of audiobook kind of style to her voice, so it's nice to hear her.
Yeah.
But then having this linchpin of Jaskier in the beginning, opening it, going, okay, so this is why we're getting this origin. It is the tale, as she says, of the birth of the Witchers and more, but locking it into what we had just seen at the end of season 2 and moving into season 3, that he is known now within the elves as it's essentially a character who is bringing helping getting them through the Underground Railroad, getting them in and out, and he is this kind of figure, and he will be known greater by this. So it ties it in a point of time for those of us who've watched season 2, moving into season 3, and it gives us this additional information. It's not like the animated show that we went through, which was not as connected, if at really. Some of the same characters, like 1 or 2 kind of crossed over that you could kind of point at, but
yeah. It was really the origin of Geralt the Witcher. So we did have some of those major characters from the Witcher side, but not any story connecting him with Yennifer, with Ciri, and with Jaskier, the other 3 major characters of the Witcher. So nice to have this as the kind of opening of the episode. And that's my big moment, is how the setup of the story for episode 1 and how the setup of the series goes, because I also think it's a difficult thing to do when you've got this character handing over to this story as old as time, this concept where this is how almost every fantasy book starts out. There is great evil to overcome, and loads of people get together who shouldn't be together, and then win the battle effectively. And Jaskier calls that out, which is a really interesting thing to do, to call out that story's been told so many times, and gets the lowdown from Mini Driver. But actually, this is how the blood of the Witchers began. This is where the story came from, and it's back at the time of the conjunction of the spheres, this moment when the world was once run by elves, which we heard about in The Witcher before, and now at this time, when Jaskier is around, the elves are the underclass of the world. So humans and monsters and magic all come into the world around the time of this conjunction of the spheres. So it's quite a big story that hasn't been told in the 2 seasons of The Witcher so far, and a big kind of throwback to a time that we don't know much about at all. So I kind of love that setup. I hope they can pay off
that's
to what Jaskier's saying here, because, as I say, it's quite a difficult thing to have one of your characters to go, this story could be terrible. let's see how it goes, because I've heard that story so many times before. So
I mean, you're right, but I know for me, I just kind of this is not in a bad way, but it felt comfortable for me. This just, it's kind of like that Robin Hood element of the band of merry men getting together, or, a whole rake of other things. And ultimately it comes down to these individuals that form this band ultimately. Yeah. And I kind of certainly this episode, I really enjoyed sort of being back in the world of The Witcher, with the blood and the cursing, but also just, the difference with the elves being, effectively the race, and the predominant race here. You see Xin'trea rather than Xin'trea, all these different things. And even like with the name of the mage Sindral, you've heard that through the Witcher episodes as well, in terms of his teachings and so on. So I really enjoyed all this connectivity, and seeing that even though the elves are, the dominant force here, they're still at war. So whether it's man or whether it's elves, plus you get the hint at dwarves from previous times that were effectively sort of taken out, and this new city and palace of Xin'trea being built over those dwarven ruins. So all these different layers, I kind of just really enjoyed being back in this world, to be honest. It was good, and feeling like learning a bit of the history to The Witcher.
Yeah, absolutely. How about yourself, Chris? I know that you're kind of the biggest fan of The Witcher of all of us, because you played all the games and you've read some books and stuff. So this, I understand, isn't a story that has been told in the books before. It's been referenced a lot throughout the series of books back to the past, but never told in the actual books before. How do you think it fit in with that world of The Witcher that you know?
From what we have watched, it's fitting in great. It is, as John said, it's like a comfortable pair of shoes. You're kind of putting them back on. It's like, oh yeah, it's better. It's very much like a flavor of ice cream. It's like, this is a flavor of ice cream I enjoy. I enjoy lots of flavors of ice cream, but this is one I enjoy a lot. So like, while I enjoyed Rings of Power and I enjoy Game of Thrones, they're very different types of kind of fantasy. Like Game of Thrones is the politics one, or the incest one, depending. This is very much a violent, dark one. And they very much open with that and stick to it straight away. The battle at the beginning, moving quickly into the dog clan, and they're swearing, and like they kind of show you that this is not the Wheel of Time, for example. Which is, again, one of my favorite series and kind of adaptations and everything going on. But this is much more my universe. That being said, I don't know, because this is all off book for us. Literally off book. Because I'm interested to see how deep this goes in, because there's been hints to what this was. The creation of the first Witcher. Why it happened. Who it was. And I think the whole thing is we will find out by the end. Well, that's the promise based on what Jaskier gets promised. So I'm like him. I'm like, yeah, we've seen the Fellowship of the Seven before. you're literally telling us a very similar thing. And by the end of episode 1, we've seen some of this before. We've seen the politics, the intrigue, the death, a tyrant being born, kind of someone turning on family.
Yeah.
All of this is there, but again, it's that promise of, but this will be slightly different.
Well, absolutely. And hopefully it is. Again, I mentioned Jaskier calling it out in the opening, but we also have Merwin calling it out as well. She's calling out that Xin'trea was built on lands taken back from the dwarves the last time there was an uprising and everything fell apart. And you're kind of going, well, you're going to be telling the story again. So hopefully it executes on what its promise is. And I do believe it has promise. I do like, again, that nod back to what we've seen in The Witcher, the machinations behind the scenes of the people who think they're in power, but actually there's a lot of other people behind the scenes who are just there with their knives out waiting to take them down. So I kind of like that that's still there, and that's evident from the first book and evident from the Witcher series as well. So yeah. Well, that's my kind of big moment from the episode is the opening section. Chris, do you have a big moment for yourself from the episode?
So for me, it's really actually just Fjall and the Lark, and the introduction to them. I thought for a second that this was going to be more the Fellowship, where you get time with each of them. Each of them are different. You get very much by the end of episode 1 that Fjall and the Lark are central characters. They are the crux in between Dog Clan and Raven Clan. Were the ones that were wiped out completely and wholly.
Yeah.
They're the last 2 members, and very much like the Ghost, they will soon be Ghost Clan as well, because there's no one else either.
Well, yeah.
So I really enjoyed the dichotomy, if you really want to call it that, and they've set it up like one is a bruising, beefy kind of dog. He's the mutt, he's the hound. And the other is a lot more, the Lark is supposed to be, she's the Lark because she obviously, the lute and everything like that tells that she is a minstrel, she is a bard, but with a prowess and skill with knives that you've yet to see.
Yeah.
And you get these promises. You get the promise from, you obviously see Fjall in the beginning with the princess in the alleyway, and then you see the Lark in the tavern. And you get this, I was like, okay, we're starting to see something potential. And it's very much just the ambush for me, which really cemented, okay, now I remember. Like, this is bloody, this is violent, and like, they're going to get cut and hit, and you're going to get some nice action scenes, fight scenes, kind of choreography.
Absolutely.
And it was done well. It didn't look cheesy. That was always going to be my fear. Like this potentially would not have the full budget of, for example, the actual Witcher.
Right.
So I was afraid they may cut some corners or kind of, and especially when you start talking about Michelle Yeoh being in it, I was like, oh no, you need to really dive into the martial arts. You need to kind of really like hone in on this aspect. Yeah. And they did, from what I've seen so far.
Absolutely. And it's something that we remember from The Witcher. I think there's a moment when we saw Geralt fight for the first time in one battle right at the beginning of the show, and you go, okay, well, this is what this is the stamp this show has on the violence. And you do see that in the opening battle, with Fjall and trying to save the princess. There are moments in that battle where you're going, okay, well, this is the violence that we've come to know from The Witcher, but they also have that twist on it again. Fjall is supposed to be the protector of the princess. By the end of the episode, you're wondering, did she ever need protecting in the first place? Because she is quite a manipulative type of person. Or did he push her over the edge of that violence when he handed the knife to her to protect herself while he was in the battle with her? So you wonder, she's not exactly the maiden in distress by the end of the episode, certainly.
No.
Which I did like. And Lawrence of Hueron as Fjall, excellent on-screen performance. I really like him. I took to him almost immediately. I love how he delivers his lines. I love that he understands why he's been kicked out by his father from the Dog Clan. you don't have sex with the princess if you're supposed to be protecting her. You know, as we hear from Éile, that is the first thing you learn. You protect, don't screw them.
Clan 101.
Exactly.
Protect, don't shag.
Yeah.
I really like that.
But and Sophia Brown as Éile, she's really good. Again, you know, you're of course expecting that a minstrel that's going around playing in bars is also going to be massively violent in the world of The Witcher. So her taking out the group that tried to rape the girl in the bar, effectively, like that's instantly taking them all out from the stage, and then continues on with her song, and everybody joins in with the rest of the song. I love that you get that power over her immediately when you meet her, because these are the kind of characters you meet in this world.
Definitely. And I mean, it's to your point as well, Chris. I mean, the ambush, it was that moment where you get the bolt of the arrow through her sister, Neve, and then a second one. And I was kind of like just taken out of it. And I loved how it all played out. And even with Fjall coming to, you know, I wouldn't say it's coming to the rescue. He aided her, but not because he was helping her, just simply because she had stolen his pendant so she could escape from the prison after the bar brawl and so on. So I kind of like the whole dynamic between the two of them. There is this distrust for obvious reasons. It's two clans, two opposing kingdoms that, you know, have been fighting one another. And we learn more that the Dog Clan effectively were the ones to have wiped out Michelle Yeoh's or Skian's ghost tribe back in the day. There's all, you know, you hear the Lark saying how it was Fjall as well that had taken in a battle one of her other sisters, and she, you know, so I kind of like this. I like the fact that, though, you know, in a sense, what softens all of that is when they recognize that their potential assassins have all got the sort of army tattoos from and the weapons or whatever from the three different kingdoms, so that there's actually three sets of enemies here that have come to assassinate them, and they've both been asked to come back for this peace treaty. So I kind of liked how that kind of that realization that there's something fishy going on kind of ultimately bands them together in that moment, which I thought was good.
Agreed. Like, there's going to be, I think it's going to end up very much, by the end of it, the narrator literally goes, and then there was 3. We're going to get to, and then there was 7.
Yeah, very quickly.
We know it's coming. And then there was none,
which
is going to be the fun one. But I think, for me, it's the character dynamic that you get in a lot of these shows, where there is that distrust, where it's the two main protagonists kind of don't like each other, but are working together. Like, he's a cop, and she's a robber, and they're going to have to work together to solve this crime. You got that distrust. It's been going for years, and you've got that. But what they've done well is they've chosen 2 actors who do actually portray their roles well, and are actually quite competent at it. And the accents aren't terrible, actually, at all for them.
They're really good.
They're really good for what they're doing. So you're not getting this... You're not getting an American trying to do an Irish accent, which was my fear for a few minutes. Yeah. Or someone like from America trying to do a posh British accent. You know, oh no, diddly do. We need to go skipperine and change this thing. Like, that was my fear with always some of this when you start getting into high fantasy.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. So you get these 2 strong characters.
Yeah, well, we've just come off Rings of Power, where an entire race of people on that, the Harfeet are all supposed to be Irish and all have Irish accents, and Lenny Henry plays one of the characters on there, and we did say it's quite distracting hearing people put on Irish accents who clearly aren't Irish. So when you hear someone like Lawrence O'Fuara on in here, who is clearly Irish, has Irish history, and is speaking the kind of phrases that you'd hear on a Dublin street or on a Cork street, you can absolutely hear the difference between the two.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
There's a couple of great little Irishisms in there. I think my favorite is probably when his father's walking with his sister down the hallway, going, "Oh, all these people in here, they couldn't even organise a ride in the brothel," which is something you just wouldn't hear outside of Ireland. It's almost going to institute what we did for Pennyworth, where we would translate the Irish phrases for listeners from the US, but I don't think it was necessary. I think you got the intent from what they're saying.
Definitely. No, I mean, they're really good, the two of them. They work really well together.
Yeah.
Again, it is that contrast, the beefy hunk and the sort of graceful, almost dancer, in that sense. And I think as well, what even sort of makes that even more apparent is, because speaking of fights, the Skians fight with them at the end of this is great. I love that she's just using the hilt of the sword that has been taken and is held as a prize in Xin'trea. But it's also just the fact that, they've come to try and recruit her. It's basically a no. She generates this argument where they attack her so that she can assess their qualities.
Exactly.
And it was just really, really nicely played. I really thought this was fantastic. And I mean, Michelle Yeoh, I just can't get enough of at the moment.
It's been such a great year for this year after a number of great years before that. Great to see her back on the screen again after Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's a moment where she just kicks up some of the black sand into the face. It's just really well sort of executed and choreographed, this whole sequence. So really enjoyed that.
I do have one question about the story in here that I was wondering about.
Okay.
Just one.
I was going to get to that later, but let's jump in some of these questions
It
now.
might not be the same question. Okay. But Fjall is imprisoned. He's broken out of prison because someone's bought him out, and then he's asked to come back to the city for the treaty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Lark is also met by her sister at the same time and asked to come back to Xin'trea for the peace treaty.
Yes.
And then they're both attacked by the combined armies who tried to kill them as well. My question about it is, was the invite to get them back to the city, to kill them in the city, followed by the assassins going out to take them all out when Fjall refuses, effectively? It all happens in such quick succession that I can't work out whether both of those were plots to get them killed or one was actually an invite telling them to come back to the city. Because it felt like, particularly with Fjall being excommunicated from the dog clan, that he was never going to be allowed back. And it felt like quite a quick resolution to that if he was actually being invited back to the city. I felt like someone had gotten a way in to get him back to the city to kill him.
I mean, it's also that he's approached by a cousin as well, isn't he? So whether they've paid the bail effectively on his imprisonment so that they can release him. But I mean, in a sense, I didn't even think that the assassins were going after him. So that was the confusing thing for me. It was that they were going after the Lark. But
even she's invited back by her sister, by Eve, to come back to their plan.
Yeah, exactly. So to my mind, I felt because she wasn't banished from the Raven clan, it felt like they were asking her back, just the way that conversation went. And it's only from the fact that the Lark experiences this vision from the young girl from the inn that she's then, because she talks about destiny and the peace treaty and so on, that she kind of takes up then her sister's Neve's offer. But then it seems like they are ambushed. So to me, the ambush was just for the Raven clan.
Okay.
I have a feeling that maybe for Fjall, it was genuine that he was coming back and being released, because...
given that the clans are wiped out, I get that. They probably didn't have any reason to suspect
But maybe
it.
there was some kind of assassination attempt going to be on the road back to Xin'trea, which of course we don't see because he intervenes to kill the assassins. So That's what I think. But it's just then actually because Baylor then says about the attempts on both of them had failed, or there's a conversation with him and one of the chiefs of the army, Eredin, I think, and he talks about that, and I'm just so I wasn't entirely clear around that as well, but that's how I've rationalized it in my mind.
Excellent.
Whether that's right, I don't know, but
I took it as it was basically they were attempting to do both. They were literally, it's like, okay, we're going to ask you back. If you both say yes, we're going to get you there, but if we can get you before, great, because we know that Fjall will come running for the princess, and the Lark would come running if her clan and her family are killed too. So let's wipe out all of the clans, the warriors. This is my one thing, and I'll get into it very, very quickly. This episode goes fast.
yeah.
We'll talk about our discussion of episode 2 later in part 2, but like, they definitely, this is totally a 4 episode limited run miniseries, whatever you want to call it, and they do jump really, really quick, and that's fine because it does allow it. The whole thing is that you'll do some creative leaps in your head just to kind of bridge over some of these gaps. Some of them, though, that was one for me. I was like, when you critically go back and go, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
So, like, where were they supposed to be killed? And wait, hold on. How did they 100%? When all the clans are killed, what about if someone was in the bathroom? Like, literally, someone, you gotta get, like, the guy, like, what about the two lads who are just on, like, guard duty looking after the horses? They didn't show, like, an assassination of all these other people running around and just slitting a few other throats. Right. You could have, with that one scene, you could have then said, okay, this is how the night of blood, but they just had, like, everyone in one room, and that's apparently the end of it.
Well, right? It's taking out the power structure, isn't it? So that's, and you're right, it's the leap on a 4-episode miniseries is, yes, they probably, the clan guards, those looking after the horses at the stables or whatever, would also then have to just be taken out. Because, again, it was to that point, actually, you would want the Lark or Fjall to be at that ceremony if that's what they were looking to do, because that monster was pretty weaponized, pretty indestructible. So
blood dust.
Yeah, exactly.
Blood dust.
Blood dust, and none of their weapons were working on it. So it was pretty armored, pretty indestructible, to be honest. So you do wonder, but I think you do hear sort of some of that to some extent around, in having the single empire growing out of the three, the merging of the 3 armies from Xin'trea, Pyrissia and Darwen, not all the soldiers have just accepted it. Yeah. There's been more desertion. So I think you get a hint of it, but not so much with the clans, like you say. Yeah.
Yeah. The clans do seem quite easy to wipe out. We've heard about the Ghost Clan are dead, and now the Raven Clan, and now the Dog Clan are all dead.
And Serpent Clan. Serpent Clan's gone.
Yeah, Serpent Clan as well.
Yeah. So you don't really know how many members of the clan there are. It seems like there's only about 4 or 5 people. It seems
it's a small family. It's not a clan. It's a family. It's like you can fit them in a semi-detached.
There you go.
I was thinking of it more like the clans were like, say, the Spartans, kind of just bred, or, the traditions are all about fighting, protection, and so on. So, and it's almost like this hereditary sort of royal protection guard.
Yeah, and not sleeping with the princess.
And not sleeping with the princess.
That's the ultimate one.
So I think that's your major point for the episode, Chris, about Fjall, Lark, and mine, obviously, the opening of the episode. And John, how about yourself? What's your big moment from the episode? Anything we haven't talked about that you want to discuss?
Mine is Chief Sage Balor, because I absolutely loved Lenny Henry for an evil Machiavellian sage. I just really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, like, good, isn't he?
I think for for context, for some history, grew up watching Lenny Henry as a comedian and his work on comic relief and so on as well. I know he's done serious stuff. He voiced one of the CGI characters in The Sandman. He was there in Rings of Power.
Yep.
He's played Othello on stage. But I absolutely just enjoyed this evil Machiavellian chip on the shoulder about being lowborn sort of sage, and just the machinations that he goes, even the fact that, we see him sort of, he says how he's learned to tear the veils between the worlds, and then actually you find that it's the mage Sindral that he has imprisoned, that he's using his work, his discoveries about the opening of these veils through the monoliths. And in the end, this peace treaty that the king of Xin'trea wants to do to end these, thousands year of war after war after war. And he's able to bring together, the armies of these different kingdoms and their mages, because they still want to conquer, and they'll conquer through these veils.
Exactly.
So it's this warmonger. I just really enjoyed how, he's the assassination attempts that we see Fjall saving Merwin at the start. He's behind those. He effectively gets Merwin to betray her own brother, the king, but in the end, effectively, puts her up as a puppet. And I just loved, I love that scene where she's there, that, the adulation of the crowd after the bloody event.
Yeah.
And she's wanting to race down and see her people. Yeah. And it's like all the guards just close in. It's like, no, you stay there. And actually, you're not going to leave this palace. It's just really so well done, I think. Just the pure horrificness of it all. But despite all of this, he is looking then for more. He feels vulnerable. I mean, he's just effectively pulled off a coup d'etat with, an indestructible monster from a different world.
Yeah.
And,
And I suppose I think that's one of the things with The Witcher, the show. We've seen him hunt down loads of monsters. This is the first monster they've ever seen in the continent that's come through. And that must be terrifying. And and the way it's just destroyed everything in front of it, just turning everybody to blood dust, as you guys were saying.
Interestingly, though, I was there going, has Balor actually just done what the king was going to do, but effectively, he's pulled the three kingdoms together through monstrous force rather than conciliation and marrying off his sister.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of like really interesting.
But the big difference is with Balor in the lead, not with the king in charge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I love that even despite that, he's worried about his position. It's that notion of the authoritarian or the emperor or the person in charge. Even though he is king of all these surveys, he can't be the public face because he's lowborn, so he has to put it to the empress. He's still worried about, counter coups or whatever from the army or the mages or royalty because he is of lowborn status. And so despite all of that, he's back through the veil using the monoliths to personally get more power. And I just love the fact that then he goes looking for more through the veil for himself, not for sort of enacting something in the world. It's for himself. He's looking for more power, more magic, because of this lowborn status. So I found this really, I loved the character. I thought it was just really so good just by the pure dastardliness of the character. And, as I say, it was really great seeing Lenny Henry, doing that role, even though he's probably done loads of those. I've just never seen them before, but I really enjoyed him doing this.
I think we are going through a renaissance at the moment. Look, it was really interesting. He was being interviewed on Graham Norton last week, wasn't it? Where he was talking about the 2 books that he has coming out at Christmas, a kid's book and a second biography. And you're there going, and nobody's even asked any questions about The Lord of the Rings, one of the biggest shows of the year, and the upcoming Witcher show, which is coming out in 2 weeks' time. Nobody's even asked about those 2 things. They should be massive. And given his role here, he's quite central, it seems. He's quite a big character. Yeah. If you compare what he's doing right here to what we've seen in the world of The Witcher 1200 years before, later, you're almost saying this could be Balor. He could be the one that has started it all. If it wasn't for him, monsters may not have gotten through to the continent. The elves would have still been in power, not been destroyed, and become the underground characters that they are in the later show. So Balor seems to be quite a central character here, and he's really good. I really
Definitely. I think the other thing as well, mentioned about Jaskier, in a sense, breaking that veil between the Witcher episodes and then this. But I love the fact that with the failed assassination attempt on the Lark and Fjall, he says that's a heroic folk tale that's just waiting to be told. Yes. In a sense, the whole thing around the Witcher being the folklore and everything around that, how it was written, from Polish folklore and modified in that way. Yeah. I just love how he kind of makes that reference, just kill them.
Absolutely. Before that story gets
before the story gains traction and power. Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
Absolutely. That your major point. I think that's all of our 3 major points from the episode. Any notes? Anything else you want to call out from the episode?
No, there is there's the odd name here or there that is either kind of like Sindril and kind of then the prophecies and things like that do tie back directly back to 1,200 years later when we're used to this. So there's definitely nods and winks. How much of those nods and winks from episode 1 that will come up into episodes 1, 2, 3, 4 and then into the series, I won't know till the end. Yeah. But there's definitely 1 or 2 where you're like, oh, that's the same person or the same thing or the same thing that we know of, etc.
Yeah. I think my only note is just Princess Merwin, actually. There's, I guess it's still to play out, but there's a real predestined element to her character. She's talking about the cyclical nature of history, that we're bound to repeat that. There's the comets overhead in the sky, and it's very much almost as though she's been persuaded to betray her own brother and this peace treaty, because it's not written in the books that she's reading. So there's more to, I think, to understand from this character, for sure. At the moment, she looks pretty caged in as this puppet empress, for Balor, but there's something there, that is suggesting to me that she knows how things are going to go, in a sense, because of having done all the research beforehand with a lot of book reading.
Well, yes.
But she gets, she kind of gets slagged off all by her brother. I'm just like, now hang on a sec. No wonder she wanted him out the way.
Well, absolutely.
And also because he was trying to marry her off. So again, there was that side of it as well.
I think that was the prevailing issue versus the slagging. But maybe not. She's got a weak skin.
I think it all just built up, Chris.
It was one slag too many.
Yeah, exactly. In the end, it was that final taunt from her brother that just pushed her over the edge, and certainly when he had just basically married her off to the king of Pyrissia, without asking her, because she's there going, "I want to be your advisor," and she has these notions of being like a sage. I mean, even Balor is, "I'm no longer the chief advisor to the king."
Exactly, he takes his own counsel.
So
It's an interesting one with their story, isn't it? Because, there's this phrase that we talk about all the time of, if we don't respect history, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. And almost what she's saying here is, I'm going to learn from history on how to repeat it. How we can destroy our entire society. It's an odd character trait from her, but she's a very interesting character. As I say, you thought from that opening moment of the episode, you thought she's the damsel in distress being protected by big, strong Fjall. But of course, by the end of the episode, a very different character that we see on screen. So good stuff. And the episode closing out with the creation of this group of 3, but definitely won't be enough. We've already been told there's 7, so I guess we're going to pick up some other people along the way.
We got to find 4 more.
Yes, exactly. So, John, overall, what did you think of the first episode of The Witcher: Blood Origin?
Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I kind of got into it very quickly. I think it's a nice, simple tale. I think as we've been saying, it's kind of countdown till we get the 7, see how they play out. So I kind of enjoyed this. I'd give it 4.5 black roses out of 5 for me. I got the characters really quickly. I liked their interaction. As Chris said, 4 episodes, they've got a lot to do in that. Some of it may require leaps of faith or imagination. Others, if it's done well enough, hopefully that leap of faith isn't too big, so that you fall down the down the cliff face. Yeah, exactly, the abyss, into the abyss. Because I think that's where it will unravel, being a 4 episode. But I really enjoyed the characters here. I loved it opening on Jaskier. I wasn't expecting that. Loved Ballads, played by Lenny Henry, and I think the 2 main protagonists here, along with Michelle Yeoh, I just thought they were really, really good, and the fight scenes I just lapped them up. They felt really well choreographed. So yeah, 4.5 black roses out of 5 for me.
Excellent. How about you, Chris? How are you liking the return to the continent?
I'm happy we're back. My only problem per se is the speed of the storytelling, and I think it's just because we're on that we're jumping things, we're jumping point to point to point to point in the story, and I think that's kind of my only qualm, if you want to call it that. It's not even a qualm. I'll know more by the end of the 4th episode if there is a overall issue with how we are jumping and how fast we're moving. But enjoyed some of the key aspects, enjoyed the storyline it's setting up by this first episode, the end of this first episode.
Excellent.
And looking forward to that kind of 20-minute battle in episode 4 where it's just going to be nothing but swords and magic and things like that. That's kind of where I'm hoping we get to.
Excellent. But you'd like a few side quests to take you 30 or 40 hours between main missions is what you'd like.
Exactly. I'd literally like a bit more kind of about the characters, a bit more depth, and just even a bit more like a 10-second, 5-second scene, 30-second scene, just kind of giving a bit more depth to each of the worlds and each of the people, I think would have laid it up more, but I understand I think I understand why they're doing it. Okay. I just don't want to put all my eggs in one basket.
I think the excellent Andor might have spoiled you now, Chris.
That ending. That ending.
That entire show. Excellent.
That season.
Anyway.
Derek, what about yourself?
Overall, love this as an intro. Yeah, it was really, really good. Again, starting out with Jaskier and going into the past, I do love the setup of this being a story being told to him to share back into the world. I love the connections to what we know from The Witcher, even just a cursory thought about those first 2 seasons and how this story being such a big moment in the history of the continent. I love just trying to pick that out. That was really good as that first episode. Loads of new characters, a whole new world, places that we thought we had seen before coming in and being completely different to the way that we've seen them in the world of The Witcher as well is always really interesting for a prequel show. But I think it's standing on its own as well. It seems like it's a good kickoff for a new adventure, which I'm looking forward to, especially with this cast. Good stuff.
Excellent.
That's it for our discussion about episode 1 of The Witcher Blood Origin of Ballads, Brawlers and Bloody Blades. If you want to share your thoughts about the first episode, you can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. And if you want to continue on with our thoughts about The Witcher Blood Origin episode 2, you should be able to find the podcast in our main podcast feed right now. Just search TV Podcast Industries and you'll see it there. Bye.